This year, Red Bull and their RB19 is one of the most dominant cars that we have ever seen in the sport, with them winning every single race so far after Silverstone. Max Verstappen has been the star of the show really, but there are two drivers in every team, and his teammate is Sergio Perez. Both of these drivers have had the polar opposite of seasons, to say the least. Max has cemented himself as one of the best to do it, but Perez has been struggling a lot for a while now. After the fourth race of the season, both drivers had won 2 races apiece, and many fans, including ourselves, thought that we may be in for a battle for the championship between the two teammates, like we saw with Rosberg and Hamilton all those years ago. Well, how wrong were we all? Ever since then, Verstappen has won every single race, with him having 6 in a row as we speak, whilst Perez has been struggling a lot, even though both drivers have equal cars. There has been a lot of talk as of late, and how Perez's time at Red Bull could be up after another poor display at the British Grand Prix. In today's video, we will talk about how poor he has been in qualifying, how he can claw it back in the races due to the RB19 being so quick compared to everyone else, but how he is still under pressure, and finally, how his time may be up come the end of the season, depending on what happens with Tsunoda and Ricciardo at Alpha Tauri. Let's get straight into it. To start off this video, we'll be talking about how unacceptable Perez is considering the circumstances that he's under with the Red Bull. With Red Bull being so far ahead of everyone else, the championship battle should be between Verstappen and Perez, but that just isn't happening. Perez is only being compared to his teammate, as he should be closer to him than anyone else in terms of pace, but also championship. However, Perez right now after the British Grand Prix looks to be in a battle with Alonso and Hamilton for P2 behind Verstappen, as he is 99 points behind the Dutchman. An interesting stat which has come out as of late is that Max could come P2 in every race and Perez wins with the fastest lap, and Max would still win the championship, showing how far it is between the two. Max, ever since the race in Miami, has been on pole position in every race, and you would then expect Perez to be in P2, right? The short and simple answer is that he is miles off. In Monaco, he would have a crash in Q1, which resulted in him starting at the back of the grid in a race where it is almost impossible to overtake, and he even got lapped twice by Verstappen. In Spain, Perez on pace this time would miss out on Q3 and P11. So that was 2 races in a row where he was poor in qualifying. In Canada, Perez would not get into Q3 for the 3rd race in a row, starting in P12. Again, unacceptable when you look at the pace of the RB19. In Austria, due to track limits, Perez would qualify in P15 and once again not reach Q3. In the most recent race, he was under some pressure by the media to perform qualifying, and he once again would not get out of Q1. This time, whilst Max was once again on pole. Overall, the real criticisms of Perez in the past dozen or so races is that he's starting well far back, meaning it is harder to get the results needed on the Sunday. Even though Verstappen could win the Constructors and Drivers' Championship on his own, Red Bull would still want a teammate up there. This is because in 2024, teams may get closer to Red Bull and they will not be able to rely just Verstappen and will need 2 drivers to be close to each other. Perez is decent in the races and can recover to get a podium, but he shouldn't be having to do that in every race. Here and there is okay, but it has been all the time recently. For tracks where it is hardest to overtake, like Monaco for example, he cannot rely on race day to make up the overtake and has to have a good qualifying and be up there with Verstappen. Overall, Verstappen is in a league on his own, but Perez should be much closer than he currently is right now and must step it up or else. What are your thoughts on Perez this season? Is he doing a good job or has he been unacceptable? Let us know below what you think. Moving on to our next topic, which is how Perez is under pressure from the media and the fans. When you look at the results after qualifying and the race, you can see the gulf in class between Max and Checo, even though it doesn't really matter as they have the championship sealed due to Verstappen's dominance. However, many fans believe that Perez should be doing better or he may lose his seat in the near future, but this is not what Red Bull and Helmut Marko believe. It has come out in the media that Sergio has his seat safe until the end of his contract, which is up at the end of next season. We know Red Bull and we know what they're like. They are ruthless and may say one thing to the public, but behind closed doors, it may be a much different story, as we saw with Gasly and we saw with Albon in recent years. So even though the teams say they are happy with Checo, but really they are looking to replace him either at the end of this season or even at the summer break, but we're getting to that very soon. Perez knows that the recent results have not been good enough and he cannot continue going this way, or he will be out of Red Bull and without a seat. It has to be said that Checo will need to perform at the final 2 races before the summer break to take some of that pressure off his shoulders by making sure he is closer to Verstappen. Do you think that Red Bull is telling the truth, or is there a lot of pressure on Checo behind closed doors? Drop a comment and let us know what your thoughts are. To end this video, we will be looking at how Perez could be out of Red Bull depending on what happens with the new partnership at AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo. With De Vries being replaced by Ricciardo, it looks like Red Bull may be preparing to see who was the quicker driver out of Ricciardo Tsunoda. With Ricciardo going to AlphaTauri, they can try and see if Yuki is quicker than him and make a decision for him to replace Perez. Or if Ricciardo goes into that team halfway through the season and outperforms Yuki, then that will raise eyebrows at Red Bull and they may think of replacing Perez with Ricciardo. It will be very interesting to see what they are doing at AlphaTauri, because Ricciardo would be a good benchmark for Yuki to beat, and if he can, he will be considered for the Red Bull seat either at the end of the season or in 2024. Ricciardo has a good chance of getting back in Red Bull if he can beat Yuki, because the team will believe in him as he has done in the past, but Perez has to be looking behind him. Everyone is chasing his seat. It is unlikely that Perez will lose his seat in the summer break, as Ricciardo will only be at AlphaTauri for 2 races, but at the end of the season he could easily be replaced. Red Bull is looking at the options either for the end of 2023 or 2024, meaning that Perez will probably not have his contract extended. The future is in the hands of Perez. If he can get back on track to where he was at the start of the season, he may keep his seat till 2024, or if he does not, Yuki or Daniel could be taking his place. It'll be very interesting to see what Red Bull does. As we've seen in the past, they are very unpredictable and anything can happen in this season. That is coming up very soon. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this one.